Hello, everybody. 9:33 Boulder time. It's me, Eric, and to my gamer friends, it's Devin Donder, and to other people that are just tuning in for the first time on the Gumballhead page. I am Gumballhead, by the way. Yeah, I'm here to chat with y'all. If you see me panning between cameras, I've actually got this simulcasting on my regular Facebook page as well as my Gumballhead page. So just sitting here for a second real quick to see if anybody's on. Looks like one viewer. That's cool though. Hello. Got my Yoda cup, my infinite wisdom. So, well, maybe we should just get into it, shall we? First of all, people that watch these videos, most of the time people get into these videos after they're recorded. So there's very little interaction on these videos, but that's okay because the comments come eventually longer term, and then I can address them at a later time. Let's see here. Well, how about tonight we're going to talk about treatment centers while in recovery. Something that's a little difficult for me to talk about because I've never been in a treatment center aside from an educational capacity, talking to people in the treatment center. So a lot of my experience with treatment centers, such as rehabilitation centers, comes from the experience of the other people. So it's vicariously. However, I have learned a lot of imperatives about treatment centers. First and foremost, treatment centers are fantastic. So I'll never say anything negative about them. It gives people an opportunity to get education and get started on their road to recovery. However, a lot of people in the normal world think that treatment centers are the way to just quit being addicted to things. Now, when we talk about addiction, some of the things that we need to, hi Randy, some of the things that we need to understand is most people look at addiction as drugs or alcohol. A lot of people forget about the other addictions that go hand in hand with life, such as gambling, sex, drama. Drama is actually an addiction, believe it or not. Coffee in the mornings, my goodness. Looks like we're having some issues with the Gumballhead page, but it looks like we're doing pretty good here. But addiction doesn't have to be just drugs and alcohol, and that's something that we fail to focus on, is the fact that drugs and alcohol are the dominant expression of addiction. So a lot of people don't realize that they do have addictions in the first place. People don't see that addiction is a bad thing, or they don't realize it. Okay, so I'm talking in circles. I apologize. I've got a lot going on here. The gumball is moving. So let's reset here. So when we address it, and again, I'm trying not to specifically focus on the addict standpoint, but I'm also trying to integrate the normal side of things. A lot of people don't realize that they have addictions, but when you wake up in the morning and you get that first burst of, oh, I get coffee now, or on Saturday when you wake up in the morning and you're like, I get to have a cup of coffee and not have to worry about work, and 3 cups of coffee in, you're ready to start your day. It's like, okay, well, it may not seem like an addiction, but it is. Cigarettes, chewing tobacco, marijuana. Marijuana is a subject we are definitely going to touch on today, a little bit, not substantially, because that's just a whole nother ball game. So today, treatment centers. So your treatment centers out there are pretty much focused around rehabilitation of drugs and alcohol. I have met a lot of amazing people that have been in treatment centers across the Kalamazoo area, as well as outlying areas like Battle Creek and Galesburg. Talking about people in Indianapolis, Chicago, Ann Arbor, meeting these people, talking to them seeing the Facebook page, those going through the same programs that I do, Alcoholics Anonymous, Refuge Recovery, Narcotics Anonymous. I've been to Gamblers Anonymous meetings. I've been to Sex Addicts Anonymous meetings, just to kind of see what they're all about. And realistically, the meeting format is similar in all of them, and the outcome is very similar too. So let's put things in the normal perspective real quick. So from the normal side of things, a lot of things we hear as addicts is, we'll just, yeah. What we don't understand about addiction is a side effect. Addiction is a symptom of an underlying problem. When we focus on addiction itself solely, we see that as a problem. Usually there's something that's integrated into our lives in the past, PTSD perhaps related, or bad memories of our childhood, or we're trying to suppress our feelings, we're trying to suppress our problems, we're trying to eliminate things in our lives that we don't want to deal with. In my case, it was sleeping. Couldn't sleep, would have nightmares, decided, screw it, I'm going to start drinking. So I started drinking, then I would black out. So I haven't, I don't do that anymore, obviously. Otherwise, I wouldn't be sitting here doing this video. I'd be sitting here drinking with the camera off, drinking tea. But it's simple to just stop, right? Or not. It's not that simple. Us as addicts know that. Those who are not addicted don't know that. And it's unfair because our loved ones sit there and watch us destroy our mind, bodies, and souls by partaking in these addictions. So people have interventions. Interventions pretty simple to explain. It's when family and friends decide that enough is enough and they take matters into their own hands and they address you as a family or as a group of friends and say, hey, enough's enough. It's time to get treatment. It's time to get care. So Hazelton's a big clinic. Rosecrance, I'm giving shout outs to some of the larger clinics because these are names that most people will know. Skywood, Upjohn Treatment Center. So these are treatment facilities. So how does a treatment facility play in everybody's addiction? Well, it doesn't play in everybody's addiction. I've never been in treatment and I'm in recovery. Some of us have white knuckled it. Some of us have been through hell and back, and some of us have relapsed, and some of us have capitalized on it. I relapsed and look at, here I am, not looking for attaboys or high fives or anything or any more coins, but here I am 5 months in again, after a year and a half, not quite 2 years, a year and 8 months, maybe, I don't know. I didn't reset the clock this time. I did reset the clock, but I'm not keeping track of days anymore. But treatment centers, however, most of the time you go to a treatment center. I'm going to use a local one here. I'm not going to necessarily say the name, but if you're local, you know what name it is. You go there for 14 days, 16 or 18 if you have a medical detox, and then you go through their treatment program for 2 weeks and then you're cured, right? Nope, that's not true. A lot of people that enter treatment centers require more time than 2 weeks. Why do most people get kicked out after 2 weeks? Well, let me explain that to you real quick. Money. Simple as that, money. Financial status is where people lose out on their treatment centers. 2 weeks is about all the time that Blue Cross Blue Shield will cover, or Aetna Insurance, or Blue Care Network, or even some Medicaid programs. You're done 2 weeks. That's not enough, right? The idea behind treatment centers, short term, is grab your money and get them out of here. Get what you can with the insurance companies, and then you're gone. It may not necessarily be the case, but truth be told, I'm fairly confident that's where it sits. So, a couple more people poking in. Hi, Brandy. 2 Brandies in the room. Cool. So yeah, the treatment center aspect of things, they're fantastic. They're great. But what people on the outside don't realize is what goes on in those treatment centers. You share a room with a roommate that you don't know, but you get to know very well. You have multiple meetings throughout the day, AA, NA, Gamblers Anonymous, all of the A's programs. And then, outside programs like Refuge try to poke their head in and they run meetings there as well. And then there's other outside entities like Smart Recovery. Just a lot of other programs go in there. And it's cool because it gives people in treatment centers the opportunity to get that feel for things and kind of help them find what they want in their treatment. So when they get out after those 2 weeks, they have a foundation, they have an idea, they have a concept of what to do. Here's the thing about that. You're going to fail. I've said it in my meetings before. I've said it in And when I've led meetings, you're going to fail. You're absolutely going to fail. You're going to not be successful in your treatment if you don't work a program. So these treatment centers are great to set you up for success. They are not guaranteed success. They're just not. Okay. So I've said it in the past too. Love your addict. You have to love your addict. You have to support your addict. If you think about it, an addict actually works on the mindset of attention. Um, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's their primary motive, but it's attention. They want that attention. They need that positive feedback. They need to hear that you're proud of them. They need to hear good job. They need to hear, people congratulating you and applauding in the meetings. That's especially imperative in early recovery or first time attempts at recovery. And you learn that need very early on. Those who have gone longer terms of recovery and those who have had multiple attempts at recovery know that, okay, yeah, it feels good the first few times you hear good job, but we get complacent in that. And the truth behind it is if we don't maintain that congratulatory feel and that congratulatory community in conversation with these people long term, we're going to lose all the value that is in our recovery. So you got to keep telling people congratulations. You got to say it heartfelt. You can't just be like, hey, good job, fucking awesome, dude. You have to be honest and sincere about that. And among the addicted community and among the recovery community, they are heartfelt and they are very, they're very expressive in those. And the downside of that is families don't understand how important meetings are. You go to a meeting, you've got a different type of family. You've got a family that knows what you're going through. Now I could sit here and tell people, hey, I had a rough day today. I thought about drinking, or hey, I thought about smoking, or I thought about doing a line, or I thought about using today. And, families consoling, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. What made it such a bad day? Yeah, you're right. And that's great. You talk about your feelings and stuff like that, but that's why so many addicts have counselors. We pay people to listen to our problems. Why do we feel the way that we do? Why do we feel that way on Tuesday when you got to wait a couple of days to go see your counselor? That's fine. Sit down, make it part of your routine when you think about using. I'll just talk about it with my counselor. There's nothing wrong with that. However, in the meantime, you do need to get that off your chest. Now, this isn't advice. This is life experience on my part. So when I feel those days, sometimes I will just text somebody and be like, hey, how's it going today? It doesn't mean that I'm reaching out to them or anything like that. It's just, hey, I acknowledge something, a trigger or something like that. And now I need to express it to somebody. I need to have that communication with somebody. I need to talk about it with somebody. You don't have to address it with them. If you get a random text from a friend of yours and you know that they're in recovery, embrace the fact that they're sending you a message because they're reaching out to you nonchalantly. Excuse me. So, yeah, that leads me into the next thing. Just so everybody knows, I do have a note card. Wrote this stuff down while I was at work today. Just things that I kind of wanted to bullet point today. Bullet point recovery, which is bullet point journals, which is what I've been doing a lot lately. I saw a post on it the other day on Facebook, and someone was talking about bullet point journals. And if you have questions, let me know. They're really cool because they're journals, but they are not fully written out. They're more of a memory prompt than anything. So it works really well on the fly. My bullet point journal right here. This was a gift from Princess Studbull, which I'm sure is going to watch this here in a little while. She's at work, but I know she'll watch this. One of the best friends I could ever have. So aside from you people, of course, but she's not watching, but she will. So there's my shout out to PSB, the waffle. So outside advice, I touched on this a little bit ago. Outside advice, just stop using. No, it doesn't work that way. There she is. So outside advice, just don't do it. That it doesn't work like that. Yeah, we hear it. We want to stop using. We want to stop using drugs or alcohol or whatever our addiction is. But you telling an alcoholic to stop drinking is like an alcoholic telling you to stop eating after 2 slices of pizza. It doesn't work that way very well. It does work though. everyone's a critic, and the worst critics are ourselves. When we talk about our addiction, it's ourselves. We criticize ourselves so much because of we criticize ourselves because we're hypercritical of ourselves. And why are we hypercritical of ourselves? Because we get down on ourselves for fucking up, and then we feel as if we're failures, and we're not failures. We are just working really hard at doing something that we don't want to do in the first place, which is recovery. And when I say we don't want to do that in the first place, it's hard. It's not something that we want to do. We drink or we use because it's easy to do, because it's easy to alter our feelings, because all we got to do is use and take that shit away, right? We don't want to change our lives. We don't want to change our behaviors in the first 6 to 8 weeks of recovery is a motherfucker, because we're doing stuff that we're not comfortable doing. We're doing stuff that we don't want to do. Critics, don't be hypercritical of people that are in recovery. You know, give them a year before you start giving them substantial advice about how to not, relapse. I mean, relapse is part of recovery. I don't care what anybody says out there, and I know I'm going to get pushback from people because, oh, don't say relapse is part of recovery. No, screw you. It is part of recovery. It's part of the learning process. Because if you don't relapse, you're not going to learn all those things that you're pissing away. You're not going to learn what it's like to fail and then recover. You're not going to learn what it's like to build your empire back. I mean, the more people are critical of your relapse, the more likely you are to relapse. So let's face it, I mean, we're hypercritical on ourselves. We feel like we fail, so we fuck up, we relapse, and then there we have it. So Facebook's going to flag this video, by the way, because of my F-bombs. So if you're watching now, great. If it's still up tomorrow, even better. I slid under the radar. Marijuana, another discussion that happened today at work. Marijuana, here's my take on marijuana. I don't use it. I've always liked the smell. I never liked the feel, okay? I can't say a whole lot about marijuana because it's still up in arms whether or not it's an addictive drug. It is a mind-altering drug. As a Buddhist, I don't use it. I am not a diehard Buddhist, otherwise I wouldn't be sitting here talking about recovery. I'd like to think that I am, and I like to think that my path is becoming better now in recovery and becoming a better person. So Buddhist principles are part of my life. I still eat meat, and I occasionally smoke, and I still drink caffeine, and I mean, there are just a lot of things that I still do, so I can't particularly claim that I'm a Buddhist, but I do live by the Buddhist principles. So there you have it, folks. You heard it here. Another conversation that I recently had was, man, so someone was talking about driving drunk yesterday in one of my classes. And they brought up statistics, and we all know the statistics, 90% of statistics are made up on the fly. And that number is made up as well. So that wasn't a dad joke, by the way. So if my kids are watching, that was not a dad joke. It was just, I thought, never mind, forget it. But muscle memory, 2 or 3 beers can totally hinder your drive when you're driving home from the bar. 2 or 3 beers can completely destroy you because 2 to 3 beers, you're on edge. Whereas if you're extremely intoxicated, your body relies on muscle memory. So your eyes are seeing what's going on around you, but your body is doing what it's used to doing. It doesn't make it any safer. It doesn't make it any more right. What it does do, though, is, that literally is a statistic that states that the more intoxicated you are, the more likely you are to get home safe. Now, don't get me wrong. I am not condoning that, because it also makes you higher at risk for injury to yourself or others on the road. And, the more drunk you are, the more likely you are to get arrested for DUI. On to the next one. Addicts hate stigma. People in recovery hate stigma. We can't get away from it. Alcoholism is more accepted than drug addiction. The two most out front addictions that are there. Most people don't think that they have a problem gambling, but scratch off tickets, if you buy more than 5 a week, okay, let's go more than 7 a week, you might be addicted to scratch off tickets. If you spend all the winnings that you just made on scratch off tickets trying to win more, you got to understand you're not going to. The lottery is not rigged in your favor. It's rigged in and the house's favor, and you're never going to come out ahead. My $500 scratch off ticket a few weeks ago was a once in a lifetime opportunity. So, and I know that I still play a couple of times a week, but I don't break the bank. If I can help it, I don't buy them. So the elderly, the number one most addicted population among us, aside from public safety officers and public safety fields such as nurses, doctors, and recovery coaches. The elderly is the silent population of unintentional addiction because they rely on their pain medication to get by on their daily basis. And we don't realize that they're addicts, but until you work on an ambulance and you run on an opiate overdose in a nursing home, you're never going to realize that old people are addicted too. Most of the time, the elderly don't realize that they're addicted until it's too late or until they overdose. A bottle of wine and some narcotics sounds like a good night to someone who is a self-sufficient elderly person, but they might forget that they took their medicine 2 hours prior, and next thing you know, they're overdosed. So it's not a hoax. It's not a chance. It's there. True story. So, and then we get to complacency. And this is something that I came across today too. And I got to wrap this video up because people lost interest already. First 10 minutes. We're 20 minutes in. Complacency. Someone had mentioned to me today at work, they were like, it seems like so-and-so has gotten worse at their job. And I actually brought it to the attention of that person that stated that. And I said, it's not that they got worse at their job. It's because they cared less about their job because they were promised additional things. And that person was promised a raise. That person did not get a raise. That person was promised a promotion. That person did not get the promotion. I'm not referring to me for once. But it was a situation where there was drama. There was secondhand conversation happening there. And I do what I can to quash that at work because it's pointless for people to sit there and actually talk shit about each other because we're a team. And I've tried to maintain that team effort at work, at least when the conversations are made with me. And that's the guy in me. Has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that I'm trying to get any benefit. It's just team effort. Many hands make light work, and it's very easy to destroy that relationship with the people that you work with. Hi, Dad. So, let's see here. Is it okay to bring up the addiction, or is bringing up the addiction going to be a trigger? I'm sorry, guys. I'm reading this here. Those are things I think about. Well, that's the problem. Okay, let's address this. Brandy states, is it okay to bring up the addiction, or is bringing up the addiction going to be a trigger? Those are things to think about. Opinion is that it's becoming increasingly difficult and taboo to talk about in the society. We don't talk anymore. People don't talk to other people. We're so afraid to just look at the stranger in the elevator and say, hi, how are you today? Okay, I hate that. Okay, so not to put you on the spot or anything, but this is fantastic. This is great. I love the interaction here. Is it okay to bring it up? Be strategic in your approach to that. Kind of feel it out, see how they are. If that person knows that they have a problem, offer to go to a meeting with them. If that person has expressed in the past they want to get some help, great. Use that as an avenue or an opportunity to be a good friend. Now, if this person is using more than they should and it's concerning to you, it's taboo to talk to people about this stuff in society. Here's the thing. If we don't address it, it's never going to resolve itself. A lot of times, like in my case, I'll use me as an example. I didn't realize I had a problem. I mean, I knew I had a problem, but I didn't realize to what extent that it was until someone brought it to my attention. That someone just happened to be the officer that arrested me that night. Okay. People knew, I knew that people knew, but I didn't know to what extent until after all of the shit hit the fan. And next thing you know, I'm looking for a job and trying to put my life back together. So, is it taboo to talk about it? No, not really. That's what addicts do. They sit around in a room and they talk about their problems, and they talk about their war stories, and they talk about the dumb shit that they did and how they screwed up their lives and this and that and the other thing. That's what a meeting is about. That's what anonymous meetings are about, because they can sit around in a room with like-minded people. Now, to bring it up to a loved one, I don't think that you're crossing any lines. If you bring it up strategically, look them straight in the eye and say you're nothing but a loser alcoholic, fuck that shit. That's not cool. So be tactful about that. Wink, wink, nod, nod, if you know what I'm saying. So to address that with somebody, if it's a loved one, absolutely bring it up to them. People don't talk to each other anymore. No, it's just easier to text. It's way easier to text. Here I am putting my entire life out on 2 Facebook pages that I moderate, my personal Facebook page and my eventual business page, or not necessarily my business page, but my writing page. Because I think these are issues that are important to talk about. And that's another reason why I'm doing this, is so that people can understand that the longer you are in recovery, the easier it is to talk about. My friends and family, everybody I'm involved with, knows that I'm very proud of my recovery. They know that I'm very proud of the leaps and bounds that I've made. I'm not proud of my relapses, and I'm not proud of the negative things that have happened in my life, but I am proud of the things that I've accomplished since I quit using. So that comes with time. That comes with experience. That comes with different things in our lives that we encounter. That comes with a change of relationship. That comes with a change of mindset. So if they're expressing to you that they have a problem, address it or do an intervention. Interventions are not fun. They feel very much, an addict may feel very much betrayed in the fact that, why didn't you talk to me about that? Depends on your closeness with this individual person too. If it's somebody that you work with and you talk to a couple of times a week, maybe not the best person to talk to. But if it's, we'll say husband or wife, child, grandchild, family friend, someone you look to as an aunt or an uncle, it just really depends. So I am going to address the key word or not necessarily the keyword, but one of the words that I read in that: trigger. So if anybody watched the news today, they will have seen that a woman drove a car into the water in Verberg Park here in Kalamazoo with her children in the car. Last I knew, they found the woman and one of her children. They were still looking for the other child, so they don't know if the other child is there yet or not. Now, I've been out of EMS for 2.5 years? Since 2017, June of 2017. So 2 years now. I've been out of EMS. And as soon as I heard that, I had fucking flashbacks, and I'm just like, holy shit, And then I started to equate that to things that I've seen in my past. So as soon as I thought that, I was like, all right, I fired off a text message to my counselor, and I said, hey, just wanted to let you know that this kind of triggered me a little bit. Sorry about that. And I chilled right out when they responded, hey, it's cool. Thank you for sending me a message. Again, that's all it took was, rough day. I've had a lot of rough days in the past, and I will continue to have rough days. We all will. And now I just have the mindset of, drinking got me in this situation in the first place. And I don't ever want to be back to where I was, having to rebuild my life again. So it's okay to fail, and it's okay to, ask for help. And that's the biggest thing. I addressed it last video with the public safety. It's okay to ask for help. There's nothing wrong with it. Take your pride and your ego and set it aside. So now when we look at the treatment centers, which is, I'm bringing this back full circle so I can wrap things up, but let's talk about treatment centers and our recovery. I talked about mental health in the last video for public safety or first responders, and how imperative it should be to actually see somebody in treatment 1 time per month. When you see, I think that they should honestly see a counselor once a month. I think that it's important for them to talk about things once a month with a licensed professional, because of all the stuff that they see. Firefighter friends, EMS, dispatchers, police officer friends of mine, family of police officers. Check in on your loved ones. Try to do it once a week, more frequently if you need to, and just check on them, see how they're doing. Just a matter of, hey, I know it's probably been a long week, or if you see something big in the news, check in with those people and see how they're doing, and see if everything's all right, because you might be surprised. And the reality behind it is sometimes they don't talk about it because of the pride and ego. And well, that's where I ended up. So pride and ego is where it got me, and lesson learned. So live vicariously through me and my mistakes, because I have no problems airing out my dirty laundry when it comes to my recovery. Because if it helps one person out of the 400 people on my friends list, or the expanded friends list from that, the thousands and thousands of people out there that have access to this video or to any of my information, then good. If it helps one person, that's all that matters to me. So the last video definitely helped a couple. I got some people reaching out to me. I got some new friends. I thought that was fantastic. Friend of friends reached out to me and was like, oh my gosh, this was just what I needed to hear tonight. That's not my aim, but if that's what happens, great. My aim is to be able to talk to people about the emotions of the thought process that happens in addiction, for the normal people to sit back and watch these videos and understand that these are the thoughts that go through our head. I'm not doing it just because I'm good with words. I'm not doing it because I want attention or anything like that. I'm doing that to explain to the people that are normal out there to understand that life happens, and we have these thoughts, we have these feelings, we have these emotions. Just because we prefer alcohol or drugs over, cartoons and cereal, doesn't mean that we're bad people. We're humans too, and we love with our whole heart. And I love every one of you guys. And I'm glad that you poked in tonight, and I thank you very much. Questions, comments, concerns, feel free to send me a DM either on the Gumball Head page or on my personal page. I'm not asking for money like some of those other evangelists out there right now that are promoting themselves under the guise of credentialed, credentialed therapists or spiritual leaders. I don't know how much further I can go into that. I don't need you to send me money on Venmo unless you want to, but you don't have to. Facebook's free, and it's free for a reason. Hope you all have a good night. I love you all, and keep going. See, it says it right there. Yeah, that's my attention.